Boom! We're back. Weekend review show, week 18, the final review show of the year. I got my guys KFALIK and Toe Tag and Tambo with me. I'm your host for this show, running the ship, JSU. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. Hit that. Don't forget arrow to subscribe to the channel. You know what I mean? Don't forget to subscribe at the bottom right corner. You can hit it, or there's that bell under Phallic. And yes, there's a bell. Don't question me on this. Just hit the bell, ring it. We appreciate you guys here sticking with us for all 18 weeks. I'll start over here with my guy, Toe Tag and Tambo. Tambo, how was the craziness of week 18 for you?
It was close. It was good, man. Yesterday was all right. Had a bit of a sweat on FanDuel. Nothing on DK, but had some ups and downs. The chat was talking about some of the situational stuff. I think we had some good calls. Then we definitely had some bad calls. We'll go through it. Like you said, last review show. Appreciate everyone, as always, joining us on this show. Love doing this one every single season with you boys.
Yeah, Kevin, what about you here? It was definitely one of the weeks where, for me, I pretty much ended up breaking even. I got my money back for the most part, so it was fine. I felt like I was on some of the right stuff, but then, in the end, I didn't get all the way there, but I at least had some decent lineups going into the late afternoon game, and that's all you can really ask for is like a chance. How about you?
Yeah, no, I was in the same boat. I had the Isaiah Likely last catch that got him over 100 yards was the most elite thing ever. Got me very, very nice situation when you lock in a tight end and he gets over 100 yards. Dude had like 15 targets yesterday. It was insane. They were just looking at the tight end. Anthony Brown was just looking at the tight end all game. Really nice, easiest play on the board. I'll say again, I thought the moment that Mark Andrews was out, everybody was like, "Are you sure with Anthony Brown throwing the ball?" I was like, "Yeah, he's an even better play with Anthony Brown throwing the ball." I think. So yeah, pretty easy play for me on the Likely spot. Overall, it was a good slate. I broke even or won a little money, which is all you can ask for. I'm a little disappointed in myself. I got a little bad feel again. I almost had to go crawl into a little hole into a bed. We don't usually get to see the preview when the show comes on and there's a big picture of Keenan Allen looking at us, just staring at our faces. That game I loved. If Baltimore won, I loved that game. So I played a lot of Cincy. I played Likely on every single lineup. As I said, had a lot of Cincy. Jamar Chase was on most of my lineups. I had a couple Burrow spots, and then I left a lot of spots open for the late games for either Washington, Dallas, or it was going to be the Chargers, Broncos. And I was like, oh, well, Cincinnati won. Chargers aren't playing for anything. Time to move on with our lives because there's no reason to play any of these Chargers because even if they're going to play, they're only going to play a half. They're only going to play one series in the second half. They're still in the game. Oh, no, what's going on here? Wait a second. They're still in. And I'm just sitting here screaming at myself because I loved that game overall. I felt like it was the best game of the slate, but I couldn't do it the moment that Cincinnati won. So, I stuck with the Cowboys against the Commanders. And it is what it is. I ended up making some money, but it could have been a lot better if I would have gone with the Chargers Broncos like I had planned to all day if Cincinnati would have lost.
Yeah, I was never playing any Chargers unless like you said, they lost, right? Unless the Bengals lost or whatever it was, then I could have talked myself onto some Chargers. But once they won, I was never playing any. And the only Broncos I was even interested in was Lat Murray. I wasn't playing Jerry Jeudy, who was obviously one of the nut play winners. He had a monster game, but yeah, I still don't understand it. There's so many things to talk about with this week, obviously with, the playoff situation, the draft picks. I mean, the Houston Texans, that game was insane. The ending of that game was absolutely insane. I don't know how you roll out Davis Mills as your quarterback. He's by far the best quarterback you have. I don't know why you would start him.
Because you play to win. I'm sorry, we're gonna disagree with this.
Go for it.
I'm a Texans fan through and through. It's been a rough couple of years as a Texans fan, but like
a rough couple of years.
Couple is two, Falik.
Yeah,
it's been two.
Couple.
Deshaun, 3 years ago, the Texans were in the race for the spot. So.
Bro, for the last spot, did you hear that? They were in the race for the last spot. Oh my God, Evan, you're killing me right now. You're killing me.
Anyways, the answer is that in the end, you play to win, and what's more frustrating to me is Lovie Smith knew he was done. I'm pretty damn sure that they had a conversation a few days before. I thought it was on Lovie Smith that he was saying, I don't know if I want to coach anymore, but supposedly everybody's saying that he wanted to keep on coaching. I think he was a stopgap. The hiring of Lovie Smith was an absolute disaster of a situation in general, because they didn't even really interview him until the very, very end. It was, what's the guy's name from Miami who was interviewing for the job, was the favorite, and then he did a freaking lawsuit against the Dolphins, and
Flores was it?
Yeah,
Flores?
so he was the favorite to get the Texans job, and so they went with Lovie after the lawsuit came out, I'm pretty damn sure, and they just wanted to have 1 year, make a decision on where they're going next in regards to whether it's going to be Gannon or D'Amico Ryans, who I don't think we're going to get because he also filed a lawsuit against the Texans when he was a player. It was. I'm annoyed by it that they won, but in the end, these players are playing for their contracts, for their livelihood, and you got all these young guys. It's not like the Texans have any experienced guys that they're trying to keep going or anything like that, are playing for contracts. You're talking about all these young ones. These guys were picked off of the side of the road, and they're trying to earn their jobs for the future, and they played hard. Davis Mills played hard. I don't know how you could say that Davis Mills should not have been the quarterback today. He's going to be the quarterback.
Because he was the best quarterback you could have rolled out there.
It's offensive to not throw him out there.
Why are you rolling out did you see what the Bears did? Oh, hey, Nathan Peterman, get the start. Okay, Tim Boyle come in. Oh, Tim Boyle drove us down the field. The first drive he was in there. You know what, Nathan Peterman, go back in there. What are we doing here? We can't be doing this right now. I'm sorry. The first overall pick, just from a value standpoint, is so valuable. In Tampa, we were talking about the difference between 1 and 2 is crazy, because you get all these suitors. Even if you don't want to draft someone there, you get all these suitors. You could potentially get multiple draft picks for years, or stuff like that. Again, I'm not saying that there's a quarterback out there or there's a player out there where teams are just going to be clamoring to get up to 1. I don't really know, because I don't watch a ton of college football, so I couldn't really. I know there's a few quarterbacks,
there's a value to number 1. That's what we were talking about pre-show. Like I think the conspiracy, whatever you want to call it in the chat, they're already talking about. Lovie knows he's getting fired. He shoves it up their ass. You don't just play to win the game. You play to make sure that's what happens. And that's why they tried so hard. That's why they went for 2 at the end. That's why they did everything possible he could do to get them the W. And then, of course, he's going to say after the game that, hey, man, we've had some rough times. It's good to go out on a high note. You got to try and win the game, blah, blah. He got fired that night. Like, he knows what's going on last night, right after it happens. But what I keep hearing those people say, well, it's not really that big a deal, because how often does number 1 pan out as the best play? There's been plenty of number 1 busts in all leagues, all sports, etc. That's not what it's about. It's the value of the number 1, of what you can do with it, what it becomes in people's minds. Look at, what was it the year? Who did was it Baker Mayfield, or who did the Brett Favre photo? Laying on the bed, sitting on the bed with the same gear Brett Favre had on with his boys in the room. I think it was Baker Mayfield.
Can't remember.
And he went up the board all of a sudden, and it was almost like that picture sent shockwaves. It was like, people, we got to go and get this guy. Now look at him. Like, this is what I mean, where people can make mistakes with that pick, but the value of the pick is important. I think Lovie just shoved it up their ass and said, too bad. I'm going to make sure you don't get the pick and do everything I can to make sure you don't. It's
just funny to me. I agree with you, because the most important thing is you don't control your own destiny more than anything else. Like, that's the thing that is important to me, is that the Texans do not get to make the decision of who they want in this spot now.
Okay, this is what I don't get on board with, though. This right here, Sean in the chat. Which athlete is playing to lose the game? None of them. No.
I just wrote it in. That's what you see.
Them
The Bears, like
playing
the
to
coaches
lose.
decide who plays. None of that's the whole point. People say it. Athletes don't lose games. The franchises do, or the coaches do, or whatever. See what the Bears did. It was blatantly obvious, but they don't care.
Sambo,
they're telling you that they're trying to get the number 1 pick.
Are we saying that in the Hail Mary situation, all the players should have just laid down and the quarterback shouldn't have thrown the ball in the air? No, we're not saying any of that. Like, no.
They know it's a business too. They've got contracts to get. They've got plays to make. They're not going to ever quit on the spot. That's not what happened. We're saying the coaches set them up, and you can see the Bears, for what we talked about, the Bears set themselves up to get the number 1 pick once they saw it was available.
So here's the thing I'll say, and we're talking about what the draft is and who. I don't think the Texans should necessarily go after a quarterback no matter what this year as the number 2 pick.
That might be your best argument back here, but
I just don't. We're a team that just needs to rebuild, and what rebuilding means to me is
so you need the first overall pick so you can trade it back for a bunch of picks to get a ton of players. Yeah, I agree with you, Kevin. I'm on board with this.
I don't disagree with that either, but with the fact that what team lost a draft pick this year for tampering? I can't remember what. There's a team that is losing a draft pick for tampering, so basically the first pick of the second round becomes the last pick of the first round is what it's being thought of.
Would they tamper with the quarterback?
I think it was Philly may have lost the pick. I don't know. I'm pretty sure
was it the Dolphins with Brady or something?
Yeah, that's who it was. The Dolphins
was that what it was? Okay, yeah.
So the Dolphins lost their pick. I'm pretty sure. Like that just so now the Texans have the 33, the 12, and the 2. I'm not saying that we necessarily need to trade back. I'm just saying we don't necessarily need to take freaking Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Will Levis just because they're the quarterback. They're available. Like I think you can build a team in so many different ways, and there's so many different opportunities to do it. I'm not really upset with what Davis Mills is a mediocre quarterback at best, but like, is he going like the longer you wait to get a quarterback when you're actually able to be competitive, the better, in my opinion. Because then you're able to keep them around and keep them on that rookie contract and build around them. So like getting Javon Carter or Will Anderson on the defensive end is going to be such a huge get if the Texans can do it. I don't know if they will. I don't think they're going to be able to keep their fan base really focused at all, even though they're not really focused anyways, by not picking a quarterback. They're just going to continue kicking the can, as most people would say. I just don't think as a person that watches football, I don't think that building a team just because you need a quarterback and just taking your chance on one of these quarterbacks is absolutely necessary with the situation of the team in general.
The problem is, though, the most important position is the quarterback position. And this is where we come back to the coaches decide who plays. So no, we're not saying athletes lose the game. The coaches can say, you know what, Davis, we've already seen you a bunch this year. We want to give who's the backup, Jeff Driscoll or whoever they got. Call someone up from the practice squad, literally, i.e. the Bears. You know what I mean? Yeah. Tim Boyle probably was their best option to win that football game. I think Nathan Peterman threw an interception. They put Boyle in. They drive down and score. Nathan Peterman comes back in the second half, ironically, and finishes out the game. Why? I have no idea why. He was definitely not their best chance at winning the football game if you watched him play. So that's all I'm saying. The coaches make those decisions. The Bears were clearly not putting out – they had their other best players in, but they were not putting out their best quarterback, in my opinion. So that you can say all you want, athletes don't lose the games. No, the coaches make these decisions that can come to it. So that's that. Let's move on.
Good segue, JSU, is that Davis Mills ended up on the optimal lineup. We won't see him on winners, I don't think, that we look at, but with the Jordan Akins 2 touchdowns, that ended up being the optimal pairing. Was just Mills, Akins, and then fill it in with a bunch of dudes.
Was it Mills, Akins likely? Was that the optimal pairing?
No, actually, you ended up having 4 wide receivers because Devontae Parker came through, had a pretty big game. So it was Diggs, Allen, Judy with Parker. The running backs were Chubb and Moss, and then the defense was the Bengals defense.
Okay. Yep. I like the Bengals defense. I like the Colts too. Colts smashed. That was one of my favorites, but the Bengals defense for sure, they crushed.
So many defenses did well.
There was a lot of good defenses.
Yeah, the Steelers did well. Dolphins did
Yep.
fine. Like plenty of defense. I don't think defense was the issue. It
I
was a
mean,
really
Joe
weird-
Flacco. How'd Joe Flacco do? I want to pull Joe Flacco's stats up. How'd he
Ooh,
do?
not good.
Oh, look at these stats right there. 149 passing yards. He had -3 receiving yards. Okay, 5.66 fantasy points. Man, Joe Flacco. He was 2% owned too. I mean,
That was
I got
such a
sucked in a
bad
little
game.
bit too, but you get sucked in. So here's the thing: Garrett Wilson went off. Like what do you have?
Yeah.
15 targets or something?
17
So it's like,
targets.
you get sucked into that, but realistically, you just
Didn't
need
he-
Garrett Wilson. You
didn't
don't
he
need
have
anybody
17
else with it.
Didn't he have 17 targets and 17 fantasy points?
It
Yep.
might have been that, yeah. He
I think
definitely
he
had the
did.
opportunity to have an even bigger day, but it was a fair day. It didn't end up in the optimal, but I mean, a lot of people went there.
Tyreek Hill was the most hurtful play of my entire
Oh,
season. I think.
the Garrett Wilson thing, not to cut you off on the hill, because we're going to talk about the studs.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Chase. I want to talk about Lamb and some of the other guys. But Garrett Wilson had the bonus taken away from him on the lateral at the end of the
Yep.
game. He lost 12 yards on the lateral, 13 yards or something at the very end. It was just brutal. And that was not helping Flacco or anybody else. But for Wilson, it was. I think he was at 22 or 23, and he ended up losing those yards and the points that go with it. So a brutal finish for him.
Yeah, that stinks for sure. I mean, Garrett Wilson's nasty. I mean, I make fun of Joe Flacco because he's Joe Flacco, but Garrett Wilson he's a legit number one receiver that is going to be good for a while. So, all right, let's pull this. Falik, do you want to pull the?
You got it. I already uploaded it. You got to pull it up.
Oh, okay. I'll pull it up. So I'll pull this thing up. We'll start with the Millie Maker lineup, and then we'll work our way through. But if you guys just want to give like a brief overview on like how the slate went and the lineup as I pull it up here. Tambo, I'll start with you.
Yeah, interestingly enough, just talked about a little, like we talked, Big T's talked all season on this about Burrow showing up in these Millie Maker winners. Burrow put up 12 points and still showed up as the Millie Maker winner. So, the lineup made sense. It was Burrow to Chase. Then you had some plug and play. You had Likely on the other side. So the setup of that stack made perfect sense. You're using a value play that came into play near the end. So he didn't get the ownership you would expect, only 7%, which usually if we had got that news earlier on Andrews, I mean, it was before the game when the tweet came out that Andrews is on the sidelines in sweatpants and people were like, oh, they are. We already saw Dobbins was out. Like it was a slow progression. It's going to be Anthony Edwards and not Tyler Huntley. You already knew Lamar was out. J.K. Dobbins, we're going to sit him and wait for the interesting note with that tidbit was that it was like, we're waiting for the wild card game. And that's where you started to put the pieces together to start off this slate when formulating it. So it is interesting that this still ended up on the lineup, but the least reason, like even even Chase scored less in this lineup than Allen, Judy, and Parker. Like there's all situational stuff. Burrow only 12, but when it came out that way, it was essentially them saying like, why would the Ravens try when even if they win, they get to flip a coin and then maybe not win? So all that stuff aside, the Bengals getting screwed, football perspective only, I get it, like where people are coming from, but that was what made sense there. And then if you thought of it from the Bengals side, I said it in the chat after Big T sort of hit me up on it on the Morning Wood show. I was listening, taking my notes as usual, as he likes to say, and it just made a lot of sense. What he was saying was like, why would they want to put it on them? They're going to be playing them the next week with a much better squad, a fuller squad, a healthier squad. Why would you want to put it on them and give them even more motivation? Give away all the extras, put your team out there as much. Once you get up, maybe you should lean off. And so that got me off a lot of the stuff. And for the most part, Burrow, Higgins, Hurst, all those guys did not come through. I liked Higgins over Chase. I will say, just to the chat, I know some were on it yesterday. Talk about some variance there. Higgins wide open in the end zone. Burrow misses him. Then this is football for you. Just like golf. We had some crazy golf stuff yesterday. It's for another show. But the next play goes to Chase, grabs it off a dude's helmet, and catches the touchdown. We got a wide open Higgins, missed throw, touchdown. Next play, off the helmet, grab, catch, everything. It's pretty crazy how stuff can change in a heartbeat.
I would say he missed 2 touchdowns because he had T on the right side wide open on a bomb. And he just overthrew, just over. But if he catches that, if he runs under that football, that's a touchdown, I think.
And that's football. I mean, that's DFS
football,
we played. Yeah. I mean, people will talk about Najee. Najee didn't end up in this lineup, but Najee Harris, first of all, was in on the original touchdown. It literally went to like the rules official. I don't know why they tried to rush in a must-win game to do a quarterback sneak. And then obviously the fumbles, to talk about a swing, it went from a Najee touchdown not challenged to a quarterback sneak stuffed to a Najee fumble, flip the ball back the other way. So that's tough. And then later in the game, they could have went with them again. They went with Derek Watt. So that's just football. That's the way it goes. Lots of vultures, things like that. But overall, Zach Moss made a lot of sense playing him with the Colts D. Even though I said Davis Mills ended up on that lineup, that made sense if you thought the Houston Texans weren't going to try. We didn't know what Lovey was going to do there. So I like that. Parker fit in. I liked going the other side. Like, I liked having someone. People liked Henry, though. So it made sense to have Parker. I see that one fully. And then obviously the, some of the other plays that weren't in this lineup. Diggs crushed it yesterday. He was actually in the optimal. I just think that was the thing, right? And Falik, you can hop in here. I'm talking a lot, but just like we knew what Buffalo needed yesterday. We knew Buffalo and New England going back and forth. You could get on that spot pretty easily. I thought that made a lot of sense, but in the end, this is the lineup that won. So shout out to Steve Nebraska 55. Falik, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty it's a nice lineup when you think of it. Week 18 is a weird week. I thought Zach Moss was another, like the two easiest plays for me on the slate. I had them 100% on all lineups were Zach Moss and Isaiah Likely. So it makes me feel good that they're on the winner. They definitely crushed. It was a weird slate overall, though. Like we're saying, Diggs crushed, but when you think back to it, Diggs was going to be and again, we're talking about what happens and stuff like that, but like that 49-yard touchdown catch is what got him 2/3 of his points yesterday, and it wasn't even a necessary touchdown. It was just he was wide open and just riding the right in an easy pass. But there was also the other side that you can say is that Nyheim Hines ran back 2 scores and on kickoff returns. So pretty funny little week 18 overall. It's interesting to me that Joe Burrow, here, Taylor, I'll ask you, what was the optimal, how much money was left over on the slate? Do you know?
Yeah, the optimal was 49.2 with $800 left over.
Okay, so not that bad. Like Sam Howell completely crushed yesterday as well. Like really smashed as well. Davis Mills did too. So it was just it's a funny little slate. I thought that paying down at running back and paying up at wide receiver was going to be the play, and it for the most part was. Again, I think that it's just hard to. I would have never predicted that once Cincinnati won that the Chargers were going to actually play. Like I knew Denver would, but I did not expect the Chargers to play. But overall, Devontae Parker as a solo play, hoping that Buffalo passes the ball around is a play that I make all the time. Those type of plays, just a one-person run back of a team that's going to be semi-chalky, and Buffalo has plenty of guys they can pass it to, so and run with as well. So definitely makes sense. I have no issues with the Zach Moss with the Colts. The Texans are a really bad offensive team usually. And Akers has been crushing it. It's going to be very interesting to see what. I think the Rams are probably the most fascinating team for the offseason, probably, because you got Aaron Donald, who just signed a new contract, looked unmotivated most of the season, and then you got Cam Akers, who they didn't want on their team. Now they won on their team, and you got Sean McVay, who may retire at the age of 35. Really nice life to retire that young. I think the Rams are going to be a very interesting team to watch over the offseason. They have no money. They have no draft picks. They're just going to keep on doing what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, the Rams are going to be interesting for sure. McVay, who knows what happens with him? Aaron Donald, yeah, I think he's got it. He should have just been done after last year. I don't know why he came back, but they convinced them. With this lineup, it's impressive they won with Burrow. I mean, not even Allen, no Diggs in the lineup either, but obviously he had Chase, which was pretty much. I mean, Diggs outscored him by a few, but. It fit in his stack, obviously. And then, he had the Keenan Allen eruption game, which was huge. Jerry Jeudy, that little mini correlation stack here. It's a well put together lineup, in my opinion. And then you got the Devontae Parker just kind of solo one-off play here. And yeah, I think this is a fine lineup. Congrats for sure. I thought funny too, just one thing to point out about this slate, because I'm with Falik. I thought Zach Moss, he was one of my core running back plays, him and Najee. And I thought he was like one of the best running back plays on the slate, even though it's Zach Moss. And I struggle with plays like that. But I even was like, when I put someone like Zach Moss in, you like that's when you know that like he's got to be a good play, because I never want to click on someone like Zach Moss, and he just crushed. The other guy, the other thing I thought was funny was the Jonathan Williams play, the Washington running back being like 20% owned. I just didn't get. I was on the other guy, Jarrett Patterson, who nobody played. He was like 0.2%. I was the only person probably who clicked his name. He actually outsnapped and outcarried Jonathan Williams. And you can say it was a product of the game. Maybe it was a little bit, but the fact was, whether they won by that much or they lost by that much, I still think Jarrett Patterson in the end would have been close to a 50-50 split. So I just thought Jonathan Williams was a horrible play. Patterson didn't do much, but he outscored Jonathan Williams. So I thought that was interesting. People just kind of flocked to the cheap running back on a team that's, not playing for much. Sam Howell's there. They want to show off Sam Howell a little, who can run. So that was interesting to me. But the bigger takeaway I took out is, man, Dallas sucks. Dallas just is bad. Like,
Dallas
they're
or
not
Dak?
good. Oh, Dak is bad. We've been saying Dak's bad. I've been saying Dak's bad for half the year. So, I mean, like, he's just been bad this whole year. Like, they were saying on the thing, he's had a great season. Blah. I'm like, what season are they watching? Like, he has not had a great season. Like, the Cowboys are fine, but he has not had the best season. I think Dak's been terrible this year. That's something, though, we'll get into more of the playoff talk. But
did you see the tweet that the Cowboys have won 4 games, lost 1, won 2 games, lost 1, won 4 games, lost 1, won 2 games, lost 1, and now they're in the end of the like pattern says they're going to win 4 games now if you believe in patterns, and they're going to win the Super Bowl based off of that pattern. It was really funny.
I will say the NFC is the hardest one the NFC side is definitely going to be the harder side to predict, because I really feel like there's just not one team. I think San Francisco has the most talent. I just don't know how much I trust Purdy when we get into like these super meaningful games at the end. But I'm not like sold on one team. I know everyone's going to say Philly, but even Philly, like they at certain times, they just kind of take their foot off the gas, and you're like, what happened? So I don't know. We'll see on the NFC. We'll have more shows and obviously playoff standard shows, but I'll get to the next slide, and we can kind of talk about it as we segue to.
Oh, I got one more thing, JSU, because the chat mentioned, I think this is important. I talked about this last week after week 17, and so I want to talk about it again right quick for this one, because we talked last week about the Brady stacks, right, where it got there. It wasn't really projecting on projection sites, but we said, remember, when you get later in the season, you have to leave some of that behind. Like they had to win. There was a chance, the matchup, JC Horn out. There was all these setup points on that spot. And I saw a lot of this yesterday on Twitter. We always see this stuff, like people complaining about so-and-so getting there but the projections didn't like them. And I want to go back for 2 seconds to Alexander Mattison and Elijah Mitchell. And you can say whatever you want. People can say it's results oriented. We talked about them on the shows. We brought it up. People that watch the games, watch the news, and don't just go, we use the projection sites, but we don't just live and die by it. We still put a take on bringing some of the stuff we think that could be possible in the spot. So I was not surprised. My sweat on FanDuel was actually a Madison, Elijah Mitchell lineup. They were free over there, pretty much cheap. Madison was not. He was actually, cheap. He was free on DraftKings. So was Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell was free on FanDuel, $7K. But the thing about Madison on FanDuel was he was the exact same price as Jamal Williams, who ended up actually tying him on the slate last night. But because they had that on their slate, I liked it as a pivot play. But they had talked. Minnesota said, we're not going to go out and play these starters very much. And it's up to you what you believe. But if we were off Justin Jefferson, which most of us were by the time the game came around, the whole field came down on him as well. We liked Minnesota defense to just take over and beat Chicago. I had no problem plugging those two together yesterday, and it actually worked out quite nicely. We've seen Madison be a great player for them when he gets his opportunities. I think he got 10 or 11 rushes yesterday. He did his job over there. It wasn't optimal or anything, but I'm just bringing it up because the chat brought it up. And then the other side was, if we weren't high on CMC, we thought about how Shanahan was going to look at that clock. They talked in the news all week about with activating Elijah Mitchell and how good of a runner he is and how tough he is and getting him some carries. And he got some touchdown luck in his favor, but I'm talking mainly on FanDuel, especially is where I brought it up for yesterday, was on a touchdown dependent site. It was not crazy to me to have those guys plugged in to say Madison and Mitchell. Maybe I get two. I think I can get 2 touchdowns there. I didn't know I'm getting, 3 or 4. My point is, like, I'll take what I can get, but I think the touchdowns exist there. So again, later in the season, the takeaway from doing the review show and trying to learn from it is projections still matter. You'll see a lot of the projections in these lineups, but if you can take some of the projection stuff with the what if stuff, or if you're off a projection, if you don't believe in Justin Jefferson or CMC projections, why are you not considering who might take their place in those spots? And that's where I think it was a good takeaway to have going into next season.
Yeah, the what if, what happens if this situation occurs. Yeah, it's for sure. And
you
those
guys do an NBA
were,
every night, JSU. You're one of the best,
Yeah.
man. I know Falik does it too, but JSU, you will take a rotation and say this doesn't make sense. With this guy out, these minutes are wrong because you won me a live final seat with Isaiah Livers because you said that. You said this guy is who they're going to play more. The projections don't have those minutes that way, and I know very successful players.
It was early in the season too, so
yeah,
they
adjusting
didn't know
the
what
minutes
to do.
in basketball, different sport, more projections based. I get it. I'm saying that's what people don't do enough of in NFL, and they live and die by these projections and complain when so-and-so gets there. But no one was playing Dalvin Cook, so why would it surprise you if Madison comes in and gets the work? You weren't playing Dalvin Cook. Why were you not interested in Madison? Because he didn't project.
Campbell, I'll tell you why, though. It's the uncertainty of, do they play the third string running back?
Right.
Do they rest both of them? Do they only get each a quarter? You know what I mean? Same thing with Elijah Mitchell. Do they play Jordan Mason? Do they play who actually gets the work? Does McCaffrey play a half? Then does Elijah Mitchell play a quarter, and then Mason play a quarter? People just don't know, so they're just like, that's why, though, the what if game, especially in week 18, makes even more sense. You know what I mean? It makes even more sense.
Our guy in chat, Phila, he's followed. I've seen him in the chat plenty of times. He says it's true. And what he says is true. There are scenarios where they go full JV squad and they play the third string because they say we're in the playoffs already. Not only do we need Dalvin Cook, if Dalvin Cook goes down, we need Madison. But we're saying if there was ever a week to take these chances, like the week before with going Brady, Godwin, Evans, Moore, full stacking it, when there's other plays on the slate that project better, it's when it's time when it's actually worth it to do this versus other weeks. It's not as big of a deal we're not talking about a lot of motivation, incentives, all these angles where you can just go off different paths. So I just think it's a good point to bring up, something I pay attention to more as the years go on. I think it makes sense at the end of the season, especially.
Yeah, Kevin, you got anything to say on that? Or, I mean,
no, we can keep talking about week 18, but the challenge is that week 18 is its own little animal, and,
sure.
and otherwise, we have.
But it's good takeaways
for sure.
And so
the point of the show is to bring the stuff in that we can have as takeaways for the future.
Right.
So I think it's good to note for next season. But like you said, Falik, we're going right back to the real deal. Starting this week, we'll have a Saturday show. I know JSU, myself, and Big T are going to be on the Saturday show talking the weekend. So for the Saturday slate, and then we'll have Sunday show. The Wood is back. So we're going to be talking the games for this upcoming slate on this channel. Hit that subscribe button, like JSU says, in that bottom right corner. But good to take away, JSU, before we talk about Showdown.
Absolutely. No, week 18. This was the closest thing to normal playing time for some. I feel like usually we get like just complete garbage games, and at least this week we had a lot of games that actually mattered, which was really nice. And I think we're going to continue seeing that with 7 playoff spots. I wish that I know why the NFL does it, but flexing of the more important games makes it a little harder. I know we'll talk about the Green Bay Detroit game, which should never have been flexed. I think that was the biggest mistake that game got flexed. I think it was a very unfair situation to both Green Bay and Detroit for it to be flexed. But overall, it's a very interesting slate because the games that matter are always the ones that are flexed more, and then the games that matter less have different spots that you can attack, which is really interesting. So, yeah.
All right, well, let's move to this game from last night. And Falik, I'll kind of stick with you a little bit. This game was really interesting. The first half, it was like the kicker duel. You know what I mean? Like these kickers are going back and forth. It felt like Crosby was obviously on the winner. But yet other guys get there. The captains, I'm pretty sure like the Christian Watson captain teams were good, but the Jamal Williams captain teams, I think, edged them out at the end, getting the 2 touchdowns. As he's done pretty much all year, when Jamal Williams gets there, it just feels like he's always getting 2 touchdowns. I don't know about you guys, but like that's the way this guy gets there. And other than that, there weren't really many high scores. You know what I mean? Like there weren't really, there was no one dropping like 20. You know, Amon-Ra wasn't on the winner. Aaron Rodgers at 12 was on the winner, which was interesting. DeAndre Swift, who I really liked, was on there with Christian Watson. That obviously Crosby, the kicker, and Lazard finished out this team. But this team was good. Like I like these builds. I had both running backs from Detroit in the flex spot because those are my 2 favorite Detroit guys. But I had Christian Watson in the top spot with Rodgers. My unfortunate thing is I didn't have the kicker. That was the one spot. I didn't go Mason Crosby. I went Detroit's kicker. Was it Badgley, whatever his name is? I had him in there. So unfortunately, I didn't have the nut optimal lineup with no Jamal Williams captain and no or the other kicker over Crosby. But I felt like I was right there. I was pretty close. Falik, what about you?
Yeah, it was. I was not playing Aaron Jones, which worked out. I did not like any of the Detroit running backs. Justin Jackson didn't get a lot of run, which was a little surprising to me. He's been getting run recently, and he didn't get much run last night. Detroit was playing to win. Green Bay was playing to not lose, except for if you're Aaron Rodgers, he was playing to lose. That was just embarrassing. Some of those pop flies that he was throwing. I said it in chat that Kirby, whatever his name was, got the interception, and I was saying it was a high pop fly to center field to Kirby Puckett instead of Kirby, whatever his name was, because it was just embarrassing watching Aaron Rodgers just throw that pop fly in the air, playing 500, in losing the game overall. The defense didn't do so great either, but in the end, if you're Aaron Rodgers, the question that's going to be asked all the time right now is not about this game and what went wrong. It's going to be, is Aaron Rodgers played his last game as a Green Bay Packer? And it sure seemed like it after watching him leave the field with Randall Cobb and not willing to give up his jersey and all these things.
Yeah, that's his last game. That's got to be his last
game period, or last game as a Green Bay Packer?
And last game as a Packer.
Last game before one of the R's comes true. Retirement or Raiders. We'll see. But it's going to be the case. I think he either goes back with Devontae or he sails off into the sunset and says it's over. But keeping the jersey with the line.
He probably should sail.
I don't know.
He probably should sail back in the sunset, but I think he plays again.
Everyone says Jets because the Favre thing back in the day. I don't know. I guess they could pay him a lot, and it's New York, so it depends where he wants to be. But I would rather be in Las Vegas personally and go back with this guy, Devontae. It's a good squad. I mean, it's a fair squad. I shouldn't say it's good, but I mean, they have opportunities there. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out, but definitely not his best game. That's for sure.
I mean, the Jets have some talent. Jets have a solid defense. They got some talented offensive players. Jets wouldn't be terrible, but I mean, yeah, the Raiders, obviously, that'd be the most interesting. He outs Derek Carr back with his boy Devontae. That would be kind of cool. But
Garrett Wilson would continue to get 17 targets a game, I think. So
I think so.
That would be the case, and it'd be a much better guy there than that. But yeah, this was opposite of how I went last night. I had a lot of these pieces. I did not play a lot last night. The attack plan showed it. I played 2 main lineups. I put decent money on each because I wanted to still play the slate, but it was tricky, right? I think Falik had it in his notes, and I thought this was true as well. Dan Campbell is not going to lay down. They're going to play spoiler. They're going to do their best to play spoiler. They actually did in the end, but my point was I did see that, but it was still hard for me to piece it up. My main lineup was Aaron Rodgers and the captain with Lazard and Watson. I went with Crosby and Badgley, both kickers, and then I had Goff, who spreads it around. So I had no problem. He had Reynolds. And also in a game like this, I had no clue where he was going to spread around to. Maybe he runs one in. Rodgers could as well. So I liked the slate. I was doing great after that first half when it was like 9-6, and it was all kickers. I had both of them. I had everything set up for a good place. but then it started to be Jamal Williams and then the checkdowns to Swift, Swift always looks so good when they get him in that space, but they were literally designing the plays for him. Just drop back, let the defense fall in, click it to the left or right, and let him go with it. So the lineup makes sense. You use both running backs. It's my I don't know if it's patented, Falik, but I call it a 2-4, right? Two from the other side with one in the captain. That's not how it's actually called, but I like using it in that sense, and it made sense. It was they're going to get there on the ground. Then it's going to be Rodgers and his guys coming back, and then they're the favorite at home, kicker against. I see this work out quite often. I know Racer 1A, I believe, is a member. We had another RPS member with the logo up top there, Ship. So it was a good night for some RPS members, but in general, a solid lineup all around. Great construction.
So
yeah, there was a few guys. I think
Pinto got Flo.
Pinto got Flo.
Yeah.
He's I think he had $19 entered into the big contest, won $32K. He had $437 entered on the entire slate and won $33K. So I mean that's pretty good. I'll say that's a pretty nice screenshot.
Not bad.
Pinto. And a few other guys, Dean 1067, I think hit the optimal lineup for $28K. On Showdown. So yeah, there was a few other guys. I might be missing one or two, but a few guys who hit the nuts and won some nice coin. Falik, do you have anything else?
Yeah, so just again, end of season stuff. So first of all, Vincent Cano asked if there's gonna be a CFP Showdown show. Big T did say in
So I got the answer to this.
Okay,
there will be a show. We are right now trying to figure out what time and who will be on it. But there will be a show. I'm waiting to hear back from Boss T about what's going to happen because I think some of the guys' schedules couldn't make it work until later. So Big T wants to get it out a little earlier. So I'm going to say probably in that 2:30 to 4 o'clock window, somewhere in there, the show will probably happen. But I mean, we'll put it out as soon as we know. I'll put something, I'll add everyone in chat or Tony will, letting everyone know what time for sure. But after this show, I'm going to try and get with it and figure it out.
So the interesting thing that I love looking at end of season stuff, and 2021, there were 7 coaches hired. 2 of them are no longer working already, and they didn't make it 1 year, which was Cully and Urban Meyer. The other 5, Staley for the Chargers, Sirianni Eagles, Dan Campbell Lions, Arthur Smith Falcons, and Saleh for the Jets. If you could pick, I think I'm pretty sure that Dan Campbell was the 6th pick of 7 at the beginning of that. Where would you put Dan Campbell now in the rankings of quality coaches from that group of 7? I'd put him at 2 probably now, right behind Nick Sirianni.
So I don't know. It depends on how you look. If you're asking me, Falik, if I was a player, who would I want to play for?
Sure, whatever you think.
Dan Campbell. It's not even close. I think he's like a guy
it's
that
not even
players
recency bias of last night. It's just the obvious.
No, forget about last night. I could take that game out. I just mean in general, the way he thinks, the killer mindset. He never give up, play to the end. Dan Campbell is a player's coach, in my opinion, a coach that players would definitely love to play for. I don't know about the X's and O's and all that other stuff, but from that standpoint, I think he's the guy I would choose. Sirianni's probably the other side of that coin, right?
Yep. How many coaches? And so the other thing is, do you think LaFleur is coaching next year of the Green Bay Packers? I think he will be. I don't think he deserves to be, but
I hate LaFleur. I'm not.
He just signed an extension, so.
I think he'll be there, especially if Rodgers is gone. They may let him start fresh with somebody else and see how it goes.
They're going to let Jordan Love. They're going to give Jordan Love a shot. I really believe they're going to give him a shot. You don't think so?
They should, after what they paid for him and what they did to get him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's fine. Go for it. I think that's the point, though. Maybe that makes more sense.
How do you not give him 1 year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you not just give? Okay, you got this is your year next year. You got 1 year, a prove it year. Show us, you know what I mean? Show us that you're the guy, and we don't need to draft a quarterback, to push you or to take your job. Show us you can do it. That's what I think.
The Jets need a quarterback. Like the chat makes a good point on their situation. Like when you got a rotating quarterback spot like that, you have a great defense, you have pieces. Like maybe, I mean, I wouldn't change anything there. Nothing to change there. Jameson Williams for the Lions, they're adding another piece that will be an integral part of what we're talking about next year. You won't be finding him at 4K, I don't think, for very long on
that
DraftKings.
Touchdown that got overcalled was tilting because I had a lot of Jameson Williams.
Yeah,
so
we're going to be next season. He's going to be all over the review.
He's going to be so good. I cannot wait.
So we've got that. The funny part too is the Jags. We didn't talk about them at all, but just a note on them. Like, do you remember they also went and got Calvin Ridley amidst the gambling suspension? So they're going to come back.
Yeah, the Jags are going to be.
It's
really
going to be it's going to be Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Trevor Lawrence, ETN, all the rest that they've got going on. Like, I don't know. That's pretty crazy for them too.
The only thing I'll say about that is when you're away from the game for like a year and a half or two, like whatever it is, that is, I'll be really, really intrigued to see how he comes back. Does he still have it? He's young, so I would assume he's still like working out hard and like, know, putting in the time, wants to show everyone that he's still got it. But you never know when you're that far, like, away from football for that long. But yeah, if he comes back even close to what he was, Tambo, with Trevor Lawrence and all the weapons, if you're the Jaguars, just literally start to build the defense out from the D-line back. You start to get a better defense. Your offense is almost set, man.
It's the value. It's the value of having a rookie quarterback under contract. I will continue saying you build around a rookie quarterback, you're able to do whatever the hell you want to, which is why I think that the Texans wait another year or 2 years and build everything around it until the quarterback is under that rookie contract. But again, I'm not going to win this battle. I know people are going to say that they need to get him. But anyways,
it depends on who the rookie is. That's the challenge.
Spencer in the chat said Heard Ridley is a member. I cannot confirm or deny, Spencer.
Two Alabama Crimson Tide next year that are going to just absolutely crush or that are not crushed this year because they've been injured is Jameson Williams and John Mechie. I'm like so excited for both of those wide receivers to be back next year fully healthy. I hope Mechie's back healthy, but it's going to be a fun year with him. I think he's an insane talent. I hope he's healthy from his cancer and stuff. But
yeah, him and Jameson Williams, those guys could be beasts.
Well, I said both of them.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
I don't know what Zay Jones' deal. What's Zay Jones's deal? Because it would be Marvin Jones that takes the Marvin Jones downgrade himself. Like,
Marvin Jones is got to be close to done with football.
That's what I mean. Like, there's no way. It's just got to be Ridley, Zay, and Kirk with Ingram, and then you're set. And you got ETN in the backfield. You got Trevor Lawrence. Get the defense to continue to show up. They haven't been that bad, so I mean they could definitely be better, but that's where they're going to spend. So I don't know. There's ways they can go about things, but I definitely think they're positioned well and they're looking much better. And that's to Falik's point of like who build around the rookie quarterback. Well, you can only if you've got a Burrow or a Lawrence or someone like that, you can do it. If you end up with somebody who's not good, you end up in situations like some of these other teams where they've wasted a pick and now they're screwed, right? So they're moving things around. They've got a rotating block of quarterbacks, so that sucks.
I love the Jaguars. I still can't believe that first half of that game. I still can't believe that they tried to just run the ball up the gut. Like they just kept diving up the gut. What are you doing against the Titans? Throw the damn football. What in the world is going on? I did not understand that at all, but it doesn't matter. They're in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. So, all right. Anything else here? I think we tackled this one. I'll take it off the screen here, and then we can just since we don't have a showdown for tonight for football, and obviously we said for college football we will have a show. Either I don't know if it's gonna. I would assume it's gonna be later in the afternoon, like in that 2 to 3 o'clock window. But again, don't quote me on it. As soon as we know, we'll post it in the Discord. We'll put it up on the site. But since we don't know that, guys. You guys just want to take a quick look at the playoffs as they are right now and just give a quick little overview on the playoffs, then we'll get out of here. So let's do that.
Did they load a slate yet? I think I only saw a Saturday 2 gamer so far, which I think last year they ran a really bad like mixed slate, and then they ran like a good 2-gamer and a good 3-gamer.
It's gonna be a 2-3-1. You know it's gonna be. It's on DraftKings. It's gonna be a 2-3-1.
I think they already have. I think they already have a slate out for that 2-gamer because I saw a 333 Wildcat with 200K up top, and I think that was for the 2-gamer. I'm trying to get it to load right now. Of course, can't get it to load, but I think that's what they have. Let's see here. I got it finally. All right, slates. Here we go.
I don't see anything. I see it. I got to go on the app to actually see it, but yeah.
Yeah, NFL Wildcat Saturday, 333, 200K up top. That's for the Saturday 2-gamer. I would assume like Falik said.
They've got a 6-gamer. It's pretty weak, but it's a couple 100Ks up top, so it's not weak overall. I just mean versus the 2-gamers.
100K up top?
Yeah, the 2-gamers, $25, $1 mil up top though. So yeah.
That's still not bad, though. That's still decent for the 6-gamer. But, yeah, the main money's going to be in the 2-gamer. They got a milli maker for the 2-gamer. And then the 3-gamer, I would assume on Sunday they'll have a 3-gamer and then a main showdown for Monday. That's probably what's gonna happen here. So
I'm ready to make my call. I'm ready.
What do you got?
You're ready? What's your call?
All right, we got Chargers versus Bills in the AFC Championship.
Oh, okay.
We got Eagles versus 49ers in the NFC Championship.
Okay.
Eagles versus Chargers with the Eagles winning.
Oh God.
Wow. Eagles versus Chargers. That's a KFALIK Super Bowl if I ever heard one. All right.
I don't have it all the way mapped out like that yet. I'll think about it, but I'll tell you this: Eagles bounced in the conference championship. That's what we're going to see. That'll be a bet for sure.
By who?
I don't know yet. Probably the 49ers, but we'll have to wait and see. AFC, yeah. I don't know. AFC, man, I really feel like the Bengals.
I think the AFC is the harder one, just because you've got 3 really good teams, and like it's probably going to be 2 of them battling it out.
Hey, here's the thing about that. Everyone keeps talking about this neutral spot. Like they're already gifting it to Kansas City versus Buffalo. I got it, man. I just have a feeling the Bills are going to get there. I'm sorry, the Bengals are going to get back there. So
yeah,
I think a Bengals 49ers would be a good Super Bowl.
First official firing of the NFL season. Adam Schefter is saying that the Arizona Cardinals have fired Cliff Kingsbury.
I mean, it took them long enough.
Yep.
Should have happened.
First official. Lovey got fired last night.
That doesn't count. Those are pre end of season. Who cares about Lovey Smith? This is the one. We're starting to get to the teams that actually people care about.
That Falik showing his fan. Oh, who cares about the Texans right now? You do, Falik. You care about the Texans.
We've had 2 coaches in 2 years. I feel like I'm back at Indiana when I went to Indiana University and I was there for the college football in the college basketball, college football, and women's basketball. What are considered, I think, in the Big Ten, 3 of the premier sports. As sad as it sounds. I think in my 4 years, I had 13 coaches. So I feel like I'm back there.
All right. So wait, so Seattle Seattle plays San Fran first, right? Is that how it works? So Seattle plays San Fran. The Giants get the Vikings. All right. I don't have everything mapped up, but I'll say this. I like the Giants against the Vikings here. I think the Giants upset the Vikings. I think the Giants have a shot to get to the NFC Championship as a long shot because I really don't like this NFC, and I don't love the top-tier teams outside of San Francisco, and they've got a really young quarterback, which always makes me worried. I think San Francisco is the best team. If you ask me who, it's probably them right now, but yeah, I like the Giants over. I don't like Seattle as much. I think the Giants are just as good, if not better than the Cowboys. They might be better than the Cowboys, actually, more than I think about it. So Giants over the Vikings. Tampa Bay's in here in the middle. So Tampa Bay gets to play. Who do they get? Is it the Cowboys first, Falik?
Yeah, it's the Monday night game on the 16th. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Just pick your conference championship and champion and
I
then
haven't mapped it out. You can see this is fresh in my mind right now. I'll pick it on a later show. Probably
Do your
the
Super
Print
Bowl, though.
Factory.
I committed. I was like you. I don't got it mapped out.
We're
But I'm
doing
going
that on the
Bengals,
Print
49ers.
Factory. We're doing that on the Print Factory.
well,
Bengals
you
win.
haven't made a final decision yet. Just say who you're thinking of so far.
I'm definitely thinking Bengals. I know that.
Okay.
I know everyone's. I'm definitely thinking Bengals. The NFC is the one I gotta think more about. I gotta see who faces who when I map out who's winning. So I'll say this though, I don't like the Eagles to get there, and I'm not on the Vikings. I don't like Seattle. I don't like Tampa Bay or Dallas. It's only ruling out the two teams here for me. So we'll figure it out.
If you
I don't know.
last thing I'll say before we head out, if you think that the Chargers are going to lose in the first round, slide on into those DMs and we'll do a little pick'em action on it because it's pretty much a pick'em game, the only pick'em game this week. So
Chargers versus the Jaguars.
Yep.
Yeah. The battle of the Goldilocks, the flowing hair, Herbert versus Lawrence, man, right out of the gate.
Just slide on in. If you're the one that thinks that that's going to happen, slide on in. It's the only pick'em game of the slate, so let's have some fun.
Well, okay, Falik, let me ask you this. I have a question. You're better at this stuff, and maybe more things need to happen to know. That's why I said I don't map it out. Can we see the Bengals versus the Bills?
See, this is what I haven't done yet. That's what I don't think we can, right?
I don't know by the seeding and stuff.
No,
I didn't spend enough time on
it. You literally
We
cannot
can't.
because they get 2-3.
So the Chargers, Jaguars, like you literally can't see it because the Bengals and the Bills would have to go in the
second round, no matter
second
what.
round, right? No matter what.
So would it be Bengals Chiefs?
Bengals, there's no way for Bengals Chiefs either.
Well,
yeah,
in the second round, it would be in the AFC Championship. Yeah,
I'm talking about the conference championship.
Yeah, it would be. It's the lower seed plays against the Chiefs, and then the other two play.
Yeah. So if I think the Bengals are getting there, it's the Bills or the Chiefs that they end up playing.
No, it's going to be the Chiefs or a lower seed.
Right. So it's the Chiefs. That's why I asked. That's what I was saying. Could the Bills be the squad? That's what I was trying to figure out. Okay.
Well, I know what you were saying because I would love to have the Bills against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game because I do think that those are the two best teams. I have to over, but it's just not going to happen. So I get it. And Falik's playing that angle with his damn Chargers. That's fine. Maybe I will have to slide. If the Chargers play the Bengals, I will definitely slide in.
That'd be an amazing game. Actually,
I don't think it'll happen.
The conference championship is always like, to me, it's almost better than the Super Bowl because you get two mini Super Bowls that it's just great. And then, of course, those two teams face off and it's great. But I'm just saying, I prefer the conference championship weekend. It's my favorite.
Woo!
And
I got my first slide. I got the first slide in.
It's my birthday weekend, actually. The 28th is my birthday, the Saturday. So the Sunday is the conference championship game. So I'm excited for that.
There you go on Tambo. That is really the best week. I mean, it just ultimately for the games. And in my opinion, you're probably going to see the two best teams from the AFC play duke it out. Two of the best teams in the whole.
It's always the best game because the
football.
NFC, we're always like, who cares? It ends up being teams that you're like, whatever. And then you're just really rallying. You're cheering against an NFC team that you don't want to see in the Super Bowl. You're like, I don't want to see them anymore. That's what's going to happen.
Like Tom Brady, imagine if Tom Brady gets to the NFC Championship game and we're just like, oh my God, all right, please, God, we don't need to see it.
Who do you got in that game, JSU? And then I'll ask Falik. Tampa Bay versus Dallas. Did you guys say a winner in that one?
I was about to say.
I hate those teams more than any other teams in the playoffs, so I'm really struggling with that game right now.
I think it's in Tampa too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tampa at home? Yeah. And
if Mike Evans is for sure 100% healthy, give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Because
I might be on that side too. I don't like the
cornerbacks for the Cowboys have just been completely wrecked lately, and having a guy like Mike Evans out there with Godwin, with Julio Jones, with a guy you can throw it down to, and
doesn't it feel like though, Tampa Bay just always hangs around, so they just always have a chance to win. They're just always hanging in games. Dallas isn't going to come in and smack them, right? They're just not going to pound them. So yeah, it feels like Tampa probably. I would lean that way, I guess. But yeah, that'll be it. We'll have more content as we go throughout the week. We've got some best ball videos out for Underdog. You can check those out. I know Hoop and Title did one last week. We'll have another one coming out this week talking about their playoff format. Maybe do a couple drafts. They got a nice little $25 best ball championship thing with $1 million prize pool, I think it is. Big money up top. So if you haven't checked that site out, that's a really good site. Our guy Title won $250K on Drafters. That's another site. These sites got big contests for the playoffs. Cool format too. A lot of strategy involved, which they kind of go over in that video. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's on this YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure it's a free video. So Title and Hoop breaking it down. And we'll have more stuff too, on that as we go this week. So make sure you guys stay tuned for those videos. And again, hit the like button, subscribe. This is our final show, weekend review show. For me, JSU, I appreciate everyone hanging out with us for all 18 weeks of the season. We'll be back next year. We still have content, though. NFL content doesn't stop here. We got playoff content. We roll through the entire playoffs, showdowns, 2 gamers, 3 gamers. Doesn't matter what it is. We will have content for you this week all the way through to the Super Bowl. I'll be still doing the Print Factory with Dunkel, ODB, and Big T. We'll do that through the entire Super Bowl. That's on Friday for members only usually. So make sure you guys check that one out if you're a Rump Your Sports subscriber. But that's going to do it for me, JSU, KFALIK, and my favorite Canadian toe tag and Tambo. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us, guys. We will see you guys next time we're out.